Jimmy, thank you so much for coming on Fraud Busting. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure.
Yeah. Now you are in where? Milwaukee, right?
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. And well, we talked a little bit, and I know you'll do a better intro of yourself than I will, but the short story is you had a little trouble with some bank fraud, mortgage fraud, and so why don't you just let us know, who are you, and then we can dive into what happened and go from there.
Sure, you're kind, because it was more than a little trouble. It's a situation where I'm born and raised in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Catholic schoolboy, got out of college, went to work for some community banks, had no aspiration of getting into banking. And at the time I started to get into financial services, the culture was changing from maybe an industry that was in the Dick Van Dyke era to an industry that was becoming very salesy, and personality or charisma or the ability to go out and talk to people was coming in. Yeah. So the president of the bank asked me if I had an interest in the job. I said no. I was making $3.75 an hour. He told me it paid $23,000 to start. So I loved banking immediately.
Yeah.
And I started this career. And then, I had some success early. And as I grew up the career ladder and moved, I decided I was going to do some investment real estate. I did it with family, which was a horrible mistake. And the long and the short of it, Tracy, is my two partners were my two first cousins. They got in an argument. One drained our checking account. We didn't have any money to cover the bills or the payments that were due.
Oh, boy.
So I made a loan that I benefited from.
And you were the loan officer.
Yeah. What's crazy is none of the real estate loans to purchase the properties were ever done at a bank I worked at, ever, not even for a minute. They were all done at a different bank, approved by the bank's board, all 100% above board. But when things got ugly, and you get desperate and you panic and you don't think straight, I made a loan to my cousin that clearly was to help and benefit me. And that's how this whole mess started. This horrible indiscretion started to go down that snowball path.
Okay. So let's talk about that. So you make one loan to your cousin to cover the losses from really like a family argument, sounds like.
That's how it started. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And then so how much was that loan?
$167,000.
Okay. And then, cause you keep saying it started there. So let's talk about that. So you made the loan. Now, so you made a loan to benefit you. So what were the terms of the loan, or the decisions made on the loan made by you, or were they made by, like an underwriting department, or like, was it, how shady was it here, or was it shady at all?
It was as shady as you get. I mean, I had a $750,000 lending limit. I was a senior officer at the bank. It was shady. It was solely intended to save my backside. It was about as stupid as it gets.
Okay, so what happens next? So did you pay off the losses or cover what you needed for this investment real estate, and then what happens?
So what happened was we needed collateral for the loan. So we used my aunt and uncle's house as collateral. Mm-hmm. And my cousin took the loan papers. They came back signed. I notarized them. I never questioned the signature. I wired him the money. Mm-hmm. And the properties never performed better for a year until the homeowners insurance clause came to show them that they needed to renew their homeowners insurance. And it says on the bottom, first mortgage, and then it names the bank's name. And they're like, we don't have a mortgage on the house.
On your aunt's house?
Yeah. Oh. My aunt and uncle's house. Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Okay. So you put their house. Now, how'd you get the papers to put their house up? Or was it just, someone faked the signature?
So let me backfill this story a little bit.
Okay. All right.
So in all the years that I was in banking, it's an industry where the salespeople and the operations people really don't like each other.
Right.
And the reason being is the operations people think the salespeople are full of poop, and the salespeople think the operations people are an impediment to getting something done.
Exactly. Right.
So I knew coming up the ranks where all the cracks were in the system. So I did the underwriting on a loan presentation. I ordered the title work. I had an appraisal done. I mean, it was all done with the wrong intentions. And so I'm in a position where I can tell the operations department, draw up these papers. I'm putting this credit through. And nobody, that's the thing, you know, I mean, right or wrong, when you get to a certain level in the banking world, especially in the community banks, it's not like someone's going to stand up and question you. You know, I mean, they just kind of go along to the beat of the music. And papers were drawn, the loan is funded, the money's wired out, and you know, that's how it went.
Okay, so your aunt and uncle find out about this. What happens with that?
So, great question. So essentially, I was at the zoo with my kids. My mom called and said, hey, I don't know what happened, but there's a war going on. You better find out. I go to the house, screaming match. They give me 30 days to pay it off or deed the properties over to them. The bank said,
properties.
Yes, ma'am. So the bank says, hey, you make X and they don't make anywhere near X. I can't cut you loose. Could I stay on as a guarantor? No, because what would be the consideration for that? You're not an owner anymore, so why would you want to guarantee the debt? Plus, my mom had guaranteed through her trust, because the loan was getting pretty high, the debt as well. So they're like, well, why would your mom stay on? And we really need her to bridge this gap. So being young, dumb, and completely arrogant, I went back to them and said, well, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to deed them over to them either. And if you come after me, your son's going to go down as well, because after all, I wired him the money. So what happens is they go up to the U.S. attorney in Milwaukee and made a deal where they received a guarantee that there wouldn't be any prosecution for them. And
this was your aunt and uncle.
Correct. Or my cousins or my partners. Okay. They got a blanket deal. And which was, I mean, that was the right thing for them to do. And that would, what would be the impetus or the start for me to get looked at completely at all, from start of career to this complete screw up.
So, okay. So that's pretty interesting, because did your cousin just fake your aunt and uncle's signature on that, or who did that?
So this is one of those moments where I will answer you this way. I wasn't in the room. They came back signed. I notarized them. So how that got done,
got it.
I don't want to say, because I wasn't there.
Got it. Okay. All right. So then so your business partner / family, like pretty much like teamed up against you and like threw you under the bus, or how does that? I'm trying to make, I guess, a short statement out of what happened with the attorney's office and the whole thing.
So typical immigrant people, right? And they don't want any debt on their house. And they understand that this is a complete unethical misgiving. It doesn't take someone with a higher level of education to piece this all together. So they want it gone. They don't want to run the risk of, I stop paying, something goes sideways. Right. They want it gone. So when they come at me hard, rough, angry, which they should have been, I put up resistance and say, hey, I'm making the payments. After all, right? I mean, I'm a good credit risk. I'll make the payments. I'm making good money. Why are you mad, right? And looking at it so myopically and so one-sidedly for just myself, right? I say, hey, relax. It's going to be okay. Well, if you have a mortgage on your house for $167,000 and your house should be free and clear, why would you idly stand by and say, yeah, it's okay, forget about it? You'd be mad, totally. Right?
Yeah, no one's going to do that. Yeah.
So when they dug their heels in, they said, I'll give you 30 days to pay it off or to come up with this plan where I just give them the properties. Yeah. And I couldn't get it to budge, and I didn't have the money to pay it off. I dug my heels in, and they took the avenue that would protect themselves.
Wow. Okay. Okay. And so where'd your cousin land in all this?
Oh, wow. They lost all the properties. The bank took it back in foreclosure. And it's a perfect storm because it's during a time right after President Obama came in office and the market inverted. So let's say you had a duplex that was worth $150,000 Tuesday, it might be worth $70,000 on Friday.
Yeah.
So it was ugly. Couldn't sell them. Nobody wanted them. People were having a hard time making rent, so the cash flow became severely impaired. And then obviously, when they took the necessary steps to remove me, they didn't have anybody making the income level to offset the cash flow, right? So they lost them all. My mom, boy, my mother lost everything. And she lost her house. She moved in with my wife. And I ended up going to Terre Haute Federal Prison Camp for 27 months. And my wife took my mom in, and my wife, and my two little girls lived together till I came home.
Wow. Okay. So then let's back up a little bit. Oh,
sure.
I'm falling down here. So when, like, how did the trial, was there a trial? Was there
no, Traci, what happens, you in your extensive experience you've learned more about this or forgotten more than I'm ever going to learn, but the United States government is like Father Time. They're undefeated. So there is no, I'm going to go to trial against the United States government. No. If you ever think in your mind, can a person be so scared that you can't generate any saliva in your mouth? When you get paperwork that says the United States of America versus your name, you're like the Mojave Desert in your throat. It is the scariest thing I have ever seen or read in my entire life.
You are the second person who's told me that, and you know who the first person who told me that was not long ago was Lance Armstrong. Same thing. He's like, just like you said, when you see that, and you're toast. Oh
yeah, it's a wrap. The movie credits are playing.
Yeah.
So I got a lawyer up here in Milwaukee, and he said it was his expertise, and he said, you need to work with me to make a plea because, and at that point, Traci, it's weird because, no, it's not weird. It's faith-based. It's family. You're exposed, and the cat's out of the bag, and you did it. What are you going to do? All right. I mean, you can either be one of these people who goes and says, I'm a victim, they were out to get me, witch hunt. No, I did it. I'm responsible for it. It's my mess. So at that point, once I retained counsel and he started working through the process, I made up my mind I was going to fully cooperate as much as I could.
So I have another question, and this goes back to kind of the first of this whole thing. So you were in business with two cousins.
Yes. One
drained the account. What happened to that guy? I mean, because you did this out of desperation, right? Because people do things like you did. One is desperation, and two is opportunity, and three is rationale, right? So I get why this happened, and I get that you had the tools to get it done. But what about the account drainer? Like, I'm so curious.
Well, I'm going to answer you very candidly. What happened to him is he was given coverage by the government when all this was unfolding. And he made peace with his brother and became away unscathed until they foreclosed on everything. And now they have some pretty sizable judgments against them. But he's, there's karma. He's had some run-ins, to say this tactfully, he's had some run-ins with local authorities in Kenosha about behavior with females. So,
oh wow, okay.
He's had some things happen to him. But you know what? Hey, listen, my life it's a miracle because my wife stayed. 88% of all marriages end in divorce when someone does something like this.
I heard that. And so I want to talk about that. So one day, you're like, had you been lying to your wife this whole time, or just kind of not telling her what's been going on? Or
oh no, completely not disclosed. I mean, I had success. I'll walk you through. I'm a vice president by 33. I'm a senior vice president by 36. Went to Catholic school and went to the University of Wisconsin. I wasn't a dumbbell.
right.
But what happened to me is that, and I would equate it to an ER doctor who sees death repetitively.
Okay.
I became immune and lost my respect for money to the point.
I've heard that too from big,
Yep.
like you just don't see the number of zeros anymore. It's just not.
You don't. And it caused me to become morally bankrupt to the point where I felt resentful that I was helping people become successful that I thought maybe I was better than, or I maybe was smarter than, or whatever it may be, or they used my skill set to improve their skill set. Complete asinine way to look at life. And I think there's also a sense that when you're a bigger fish in a small pond, you think you can swim with a great white shark, right? So when you have affluent customers and their disposable cash is here and mine's here, and you want to run with those guys, it's not like I could go to my boss and say, hey, give me a whole bunch of money so I can hang out with Traci. She's loaded.
Yeah.
You do stupid ass things to try to play at the same level that these other people are at, and you just simply can't. So what I'm saying to you nicely is you get to keep up with the Joneses mentality.
Yeah.
You live way beyond your means, and you don't respect the money. You just blow it because after all, you'll just make more of it.
Right. Or get more of it somehow. Right. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. So then your wife kind of knows what's going on, but maybe not really knows what's going on. So how did all this come down?
No. My wife was completely blindsided.
Oh, completely blind. Okay.
Yep. Completely blindsided.
How did that unfold one day?
When my lawyer called, it had been a couple years, where they look and they dig in everything, right? Because once the meter starts, it's like Warren Buffett said, if a state trooper follows you for 500 miles, you're getting pulled over a ticket, something's happening, right?
Right.
So once they start digging and it comes to the point where my attorney says, hey, look, there's movement, this is going to happen, or lays out a set of what potentially could happen. And I go home and I drop this, complete bombshell on her and my mom and everyone else in my family. And there's no way to tell you. I talk a lot, and I'm an English major. I don't have the words to tell you the shame that one feels at that point.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's disgusting. And to my wife's credit, she looked at it and said, we'll talk. We did. It was a one and done. It wasn't a 3-strike thing. I'm not going to, I have kids, believe in the sanctity of marriage. This is my wife's words. I'm not going to leave, but there won't be a sequel to this movie. Whatever happens, I'll stick it out with you. You show me you change or we're done. So,
oh, wow. Okay. So then, how long did you go away to prison camp for? Like, tell me about.
So, I got sentenced to 35 months, but in the federal system, I think it's 80, don't quote me on this, but I think it's like 85% of the sentence. So I did 27 months. Okay.
And then, a lot of people do, there's kind of two kinds of people that go into that situation, right? Into prison. One is the kind they just like waste their time. They try to avoid the whole issue altogether. And there's other people who really take the time to, I guess, go internal, understand themselves better, improve themselves. What side of the fence are you on?
Oh, I'm on the side of the fence that there's no chance ever that I want to even put my name on a chalkboard, let alone get in trouble. You know, people say, and I've heard people say to me, "Oh boy, it's the best thing ever happened to me." No, it's not. It's the most jarring thing that ever happened to me. I don't mean disrespect to anyone, but I would say it's like someone who has a traumatic experience in their life, someone who maybe survived a disease or a car accident or had a huge event happen to them. And what Tracy, so unfortunate is that the family goes to prison with the prisoner, and they have it worse because they have to carry the burden of that person being gone, the shame or guilt in the community, and then try to piece their life together, waiting for your reindoctrination or reintroduction back into society.
Yeah.
I go away and I watch one blade of grass grow for almost 900 days, right? Because there's nothing to do. But that's not exactly true. What you can do is try to rewire the way you think, what your priority levels are. Why would you ever do something so stupid? Yeah. And the fear is not so much for my individual case. It wasn't the fear of it was the fear of failure, right? I mean, everything I did or I'd accumulate, I was going to lose. So it was a fear of failure and loss of money. Yeah. And that's just such a horrible way to live your life. But my mindset was I was going to come back a man. You know, I mean, I was an entitled desk jockey, jelly donut guy who had an upper middle class life. I didn't have any siblings. And that was from a perspective of my one brush with the law was a speeding ticket. To go to where I went, you know, people say, well, how long did you need to be there before you would have learned your lesson and you would have been rehabilitated to the point about 20 minutes. Yeah. Once you walk in there, it'll grab you pretty hard.
Wow. Okay. So what'd you do with your time when you were in there?
Well, I got a job.
What were you doing?
I'm not handy, so I got a job in the wood shop.
Okay.
Because my wife said, could you actually come home and maybe be able to do something when you come home, right? So I got a job in the wood shop. I did that for the first 6 months. And then I went to work for in the warehouse. We're in Terre Haute. It's a 3 facility complex. So they have a camp, a medium facility, and a maximum facility, and one warehouse. So I went to work as a clerk in the warehouse. And, you know, I mean, it's 29 cents a day. You work. Anyone who's under this misnomer that there's Club Fed and it's like the Wolf of Wall Street movie, no, I mean, it's not. It's nasty, and it's a situation where God took a front end loader, scooped people from all different walks of life together and said, okay, you screwed up, live together and sort it out. And there's decent human beings there. Don't get me wrong. And then there's people who truly deserve to be there. And I deserve to be there. I deserve the punishment, but it's a tough environment. I'm not gonna say it's not. It certainly is.
So when you say camp, and then you said medium facility and maximum facility, like, I think, you know, we hear a lot about, you know, the medium facility and the max facility. What is the camp part like? Because you can kind of walk around a little bit, can't you? And kind of get
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you have the one strike philosophy of you are not someone who took a life or severely injured or impaired someone. So you get to walk around basically in, say, Dockers and a T-shirt. You have the ability to have a job. You have ability to take some of your time and call it your own, meaning you could exercise or read or go to a library. Your movements are less restricted. However, the reality is you're counted several times a day where you're standing against a wall. You're in an environment where there is no sense of relaxation, or you can let your guard down, or, you know, there's this phrase that you're institutionalized. To me, that means a person's been there so long that any chance of the outside world or any connection, they let it go, and they just take this as, well, this is my life now. But it's man, Traci, I can't explain to you. It's hell. It's not easy.
Now, here's a question that's semi-unrelated, but I've always been curious to know more about. Because there's an economy in prisons, is there not? Like,
yeah, there is.
Like, talk about that a little bit, because you always hear about, oh, they bought a cell phone from the guard for $800 or whatever.
I don't know anything about that. I know that there's like, if you make friends with someone who works in the laundry, mm-hmm. and you'd like your clothes folded or put back in your bag and brought to your bunk, mm-hmm. Stamps or mackerel, mm-hmm. or a bag of tuna. Yeah, there's an internal currency like that. Absolutely.
And wait, where'd you get a can of tuna? Do they have like a?
Oh, you sell it's a bag. It's a tear bag. You buy it at the commissary.
Okay.
So it's not too dissimilar from the outside world where you're exchanging goods for service, right?
Right.
It's just in the form of stamps or food.
Oh, wow. So then, again, on this subject, I wrote a ski lift once from a guy with a guy that said he was responsible for inventing or hosting the prison, like almost like a PayPal system for prison. Is that true? Do y'all have cash, or did you have a computer system with your balance in it, or how did all that work?
Oh, so from the outside world, if you're incarcerated and someone from your family wants to send you money, the street phraseology would be it's on your books. But yeah, basically they go online and they would send money through an EFT, electronic funds transfer, to your account, and then you could use that for commissary or maybe buy a pair of tennis shoes or something like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah. Well, that guy went skiing in Vail, so
he must have a lot of money on his books.
Yeah, I guess so. So then, so what happens when you get out? Like, I mean, what's your family doing? Are we able to? I mean, you're working now, right?
I am. Yeah, I am. When you get out, the first few months that I was out, I was on home confinement. So you have to check in with a probation officer. And even though I did not have a drug crime, I've never taken any drugs. You still have to go and have urine samples and behave by all the rules and regulations. And then once you're off of that home confinement, mm-hmm. I think you punish yourself more than when you were being punished, because there's a thought in your mind that, is someone looking at me? Are they judging me? There are people when I was in the banking world who would do zero business with me for whatever reason. They don't like the way I comb my hair, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. But when they talk to me now, and it's so dumb, there's a lure or a sense of Tony Soprano to it, and they want to gossip, or what was it like, and what did you do, and I'm an Italian guy, and I don't want to stereotype anybody, but it's some people in that culture who think it has some sort of glamour or some sort of
a little bit. Yeah,
excellent word. Mm-hmm. It doesn't. Believe me, it doesn't. There's nothing dramatic or sexy or alluring about any of it.
Right.
So that's one thing. I was married once before. I have 2 older children. I have no relationship with them. It's impossible to try to bridge that gap. Try desperately, but it's not come to fruition.
Right.
I think if I showed you my Indeed account, I have 2,153 jobs that I had applied for from, say, November of 2015 until last year. Mm-hmm. I might have had 123 responses. Mm-hmm. And I'm not one that if you were going to interview me, I don't let you find it. I tell you. Because I'm one Google click away from you knowing everything about me anyways, right? Mm-hmm. Even for someone who's never gotten in trouble, you're one Google click from finding something. Oh,
everybody is,
right?
Yeah.
So I disclose it. But I was in a box mentally about it. I exercise a ton. But the greatest cathartic thing I found is working with the American Certified Fraud Examiners and doing this, or doing a presentation for them at a conference, because legitimately, if I could stop somebody from thinking or doing or even considering what I did, I feel fantastic. And I know that if somebody says this, that'd never be me. I said that too. I used to go to those conferences and be bored out of my mind and say, could you pass me a Danish? And why do I have to listen to this guy? Right? But the temptation's there. You never know what pitfall's going to come in your life or what life throws at you. And I used to think, what a waste of time. But I'm so grateful that someone like yourself or ACFE gives people a forum to get this out, because truly, if I could stop someone from even considering it, I'd feel a heck of a lot better about myself.
Well, you know what? I'm glad that you've been so open and honest, because it's not easy to talk about. But I think today you've probably stopped a couple people who are thinking about it, because the glamour is just not there. And ACFE is fantastic, and they're the ones that connected me with you. And now, were we at the same conference, or did I miss your session? I can't remember.
I was at Columbus, not at Columbus, but I did the Zoom in April.
Right, that's right. I missed your session. I had another appointment in it because it was all virtual. There was almost 1,000 people on that. Oh,
it's fantastic. I had the pleasure of going to their global conference in 2017 in Nashville. And cute story. My wife, she's not like, her personality is much different than mine. She's more reserved. She doesn't talk as much as I do.
Right.
So she was giving me like this, Vince Lombardi speech. It's going to be great and blah, blah, blah. You're going to be fine. I had some nerves, right? And so we walked into the hall, and John Gill was there from the ACFE. And I said, John, how many people are in this room? He says, oh, I don't know, anywhere between 4,000 and 5,000. And my wife, who had been so encouraging, 20 seconds later looked at me and said, oh, you're screwed. Oh. So, gee, thanks. But it was awesome. It was, I think what happens is, Traci, and you do this for a living, but I think there's so many people in my spot who try to defer the blame or brush off the blame or almost make themselves a victim. No, I did it. It's my screw up. I'm responsible for it. I have to own it. And I think that if you take that approach, A, it's easier to deal with, right, for me. But B, if I'm not, I don't want anyone just to blindly trust me. I'm just asking for the opportunity to be trusted, right?
Right.
And I think it just, even if it's a shred of credibility, you gain a little by just being honest and saying, yeah, I screwed up. I did it. Yeah.
Now that is interesting because you are working. How do you, what kind of job do you have? Like, is it, do you think you want to do something else or something different, or how are you feeling about your potential?
Well, I'm in sales. I'm a little older in the tooth. And I'm working in a sales environment, and I was honest in the first 10 minutes of the interview, of what happened. I was able to show them a portion of my ACFE presentation from Nashville on YouTube. So they were willing to, give me a chance. I wish there was something I could find fraud helping related that I can incorporate into my life, honestly, because I still find myself with a toe from a distance, looking at financial services, watching interest rates, helping people when they try to refinance their home loan, or what does this mean, or what does that mean? So yeah, I guess that's a part of me that's ingrained that I don't know if I'll ever get out of me. But it's not easy, because I'm sure that if I meet someone and they may want to do something business related or even socially, if they check, it's going to be there. Yeah. So people that I've met here at work that I find some camaraderie or friendship with, I tell them. And I say to them, hey, you know what? You might not want to talk to me after I tell you this, but I want you to hear it from me. I don't want you to find it.
Right.
And here it is.
Wow. Now, have you had anyone just say thanks, but no thanks?
Not in the friend world, but in a couple of, actually, I had a massive auto parts store chain offer me the job as a regional salesperson, right? I tell them what happened. I disclose. They say, no worries. Thank you for the honesty. Go ahead and still take the background check. I don't know how I pass the background check. They send me the offer letter. I get the offer letter from this person in Indianapolis who's a higher level HR person. And I say, did the people in Illinois tell you this? Because I don't. And then I think about 3 days later, they rescinded the offer.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah, it's a couple times where I've applied for jobs and got, I don't know how, past the background check, but.
Well, I'll tell you how you pass the background check. And that is because I just interviewed, private eye investigators. I heard her name's Michelle Stewart, I believe is her name. Anyway, no, that's not her name. Anyway, private eyes background checks. And they just got a check that was not very expensive. That's how that worked.
Okay.
Yeah. So
okay. All right.
Background. It matters how much you pay for your background check.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I learned something from you today.
Yeah. There you go. So then are you going to stay doing what you're doing for a while? Are you looking to do new things, or what's next?
Oh, no,
for
I
you?
like what I'm doing. I just would like to incorporate a little bit more of helping on this end into my life. Because selfishly, it feels good. And it takes a little bit of the scarlet letter or the stain away. And it helps me try to connect with people and say, hey, don't do this.
Got it. So what's your, we're going to wrap it up. Final tip. How can people get a hold of you? And then a final tip.
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. If people want to look me up. My final tip would be, even the most holiest of thou has temptation. And the first initial thought is to completely wipe it away and say, oh, no. But somehow, it creeps back into your mind. And then you start to think that you're like a frying pan and you're Teflon. Well, my tip is to you, it will stick. There's no cooking spray that'll get you out of it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. No matter what, don't do it.
There you go. We heard it straight from the man who knows. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you so much for coming on Fraud Busting. Yeah.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
All right, cool.